Hello everyone and welcome back to our show. I'm your producer Jack Tunney and we are doing things a little different today. For this video, we'll be doing exclusively the first bite. If you are looking for our sandwich segment or the milk segment, look for the links in the description below. With that being said, today is July 8th, 2021. And here are the hosts of the PB&J podcast.
Hey, how's it going? And welcome to the first bite of the PB&J podcast. My name is Brandon Blackman.
And I'm Peter Whitehead. In progressive news today, Spain has begun trials on a 4-day work week. What this entails, essentially, is working Monday through Thursday for a total of 32 hours instead of the average 40 that people work. This doesn't entail a cut in pay or benefits, simply less time for the same pay. And the goal of this project is to compare productivity, mental health, and physical health of employees working a 4-day work week to those working a 5-day work week. Spain is not the first country to have done this. Iceland has tried this model before and found that it was an overwhelming success. They tested this model on a group of 2,500 workers, which is roughly 1% of the workers in Iceland. Productivity and service provision remained stable and improved, remained stable or improved in the test group. Workers' well-being dramatically increased across a range of indicators, including stress and burnout, health, and work-life balance. There's also a couple other countries that are starting to look like they're going to try this, including Japan, New Zealand, Germany. Several other countries like Finland, they're in talks of this stuff, and they've had these experiments in the past.
Yeah, it's cool that they're actually doing like an experiment, like, test groups and, the control groups and, trying to do the placebo effect on them and see what, really happens and all this stuff, because it hasn't really been done. This has never been done, and we've been talking about it. It's been theorized, but to see it actually happen is really cool because we always think we can change things. We always talk about it, but to actually see it.
And I think the pandemic itself has really, induced this kind of reaction, because what we realize now is that it is not necessary for a functioning economy to have everyone come into their job for 8 hours a day in their office buildings, right? Like we've proven that, right? A lot of these companies have stayed afloat even with all of their workers working remote.
Well, there's two sides of it, because it's like, one, they're super productive either way with all the, the new technology and computers and the internet and all that stuff, which has increased productivity over the last 40 years or whatever. But then there's also the other side of productivity where they can finish their work in 3 hours and then they spend a lot of time, on Reddit or whatever, on the internet, just chilling. So it's, we can be more, we can execute better on how we do working in America. There's a lot of,
absolutely.
There's a lot of just kind of antiquated things that we don't have to do now that we are in such a more productive society.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and we've known for a long time that more hours working doesn't necessarily mean more work done, you know? So I think, this is a progressive idea that I'm pretty sure everyone could get behind,
And it's important to remember that it doesn't entail like a cut in pay.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Because they are producing so much that they already are being underpaid and like not exactly getting what they deserve. So really it's just showing that they produce so much and they are being, overworked in some areas.
Yeah, well, and it even says, productivity and service provision tends to stay the same or go up.
Yeah.
In these experiments. So it's not like these companies are going to miss out on anything. The workers aren't going to miss out on anything because they get to keep their pay, the pay that they have now. I think it's just better for all who are involved. Who doesn't want Friday off?
Yeah.
I feel like that's left, right, and center. We can agree.
And
on
without a pay cut, it's not like you're getting paid less. So that's a really cool story. And shout out to Europe for feeling brave enough to step out.
Europe and Japan and New Zealand
Let's
move to this next story. Meanwhile, in America, which I think I'm going to title an entire segment one of these days. The House of Representatives has voted mostly along party lines to open a select committee to investigate the January 6th insurrection following Donald J. Trump's Save America rally. The committee will have subpoena powers and will investigate and report on the facts, circumstances, and causes of the January 6, 2021 domestic terror attack. And that's according to its organizing resolution. That's basically the resolution that they passed to say this committee is going to be a thing.
So wait, is this like a House committee, like a part of just the House, like a new kind of committee for the House? Not like, because they were doing the whole thing with the Senate. So
yeah, so they voted to do, the original thing was like a bipartisan idea, and they had like 30 plus Republican representatives vote for it in the House of Reps, and then it got to the Senate and Mitch McConnell shut it down.
So this is separate from that.
Yeah, this is a House only resolution. They don't have to send it to the Senate. They're going to form this committee in the House alone, right? The Senate won't have anything to do with it. It's pretty cool. The resolution passed with a 222 to 190 vote in the House, with only 2 Republicans, Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger, breaking with party lines. And the only thing I have to say about this, I mean, I think this needs to be investigated. You know, I don't think I'm in the minority on that opinion either. A lot of crazy stuff happened. If you haven't seen it, the New York Times published a video where they take hundreds of videos and they compile it in order based on the timeline.
It's really well done, because, I mean, we were kind of talking about it earlier. We both kind of woke up on the day, and all of a sudden we turn on the TV and we see this. The New York Times, special, the special is really interesting because it shows from the first person, the night before, they're already kind of talking about it, the morning of, before the event, there's people already kind of saying these, radical things, like they're going to take the Capitol. So it really shows you how it was premeditated. It shows you Congress people who are, underselling it. People saying, oh, it's just like a normal tourist event. And then right after that showing, crazy videos of people, destroying the Capitol.
Yeah.
So it's, so that special is really well done. But also it's crazy that the Republicans don't want to support this investigation, because
it's like,
in the perfect world, wouldn't they be cleared by the investigation? Because we want to know if they had pre-knowledge. We want to know if they told the Capitol Police not to protect. We need to know all sorts of questions about who knew and what did they know, when did they know it.
Anytime people are like, yo, let's not investigate this serious thing, it's like, it's definitely one of these.
One of those, just, stroke the chin. Okay.
Why would you not want to investigate one of the gnarliest breaches of security in Capitol Hill history? Like, why would you not investigate? That seems like something you absolutely investigate. Like, what if like when 9/11 happened, right?
Yeah.
Which, obviously a lot of people died on a very different situation, but 9/11 happened, and then the Republicans were like, we don't think we should investigate this. This seems like it's pretty cut and dry. Like,
this is so grotesque. But I mean, there was a guy who was talking about the Capitol riots as it was just a normal day at the Capitol. It was a normal tourist visit. Imagine what they would say about 9/11.
It was a normal flight.
It's just when you try to take these logical arguments, their logic, and just try to use it to other examples, and they want to live in a free country, but all these abortion laws and all these other things. Republicans are very, very contradictory.
Yeah.
And it shows in a lot of different areas. And this investigation is important because it will, if we find what we were looking for, that they knew and that they had inside knowledge, it will prove again that they are contradicting themselves when they say it was a normal visit, Trump did nothing wrong, when they knew that it was always going to be this catastrophe,
Yeah. No, I mean, I think really point on that is Republicans should know and ought to know that this is worth investigating, and should support efforts to do so.
If they were really patriots.
And the fact that they're not is just, it's too much for me.
Yeah. It raises more questions is what I'll say.
Yeah, absolutely. And like the whole party too.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just like some fringe Republicans, but the fringe Republicans are the ones who voted for the bill.
Yeah.
Like, they're the guys who like are on the outskirts of the party now.
Well,
and
we've mentioned this before, that Marjorie Taylor Greene says the conspiracy theories and gets protected, and you have Liz Cheney who steps out and says a basic truth.
Yeah.
And she gets, canceled.
Yeah, she was removed from her leadership position, and Yeah.
just really raises some questions. I'm not gonna say anything.
Yeah,
else.
she voted for this. She voted for this resolution.
And I think she's gonna be on the committee, right?
Yeah, Pelosi has said that.
You know what? I'm gonna have to say shout out to Cheney. Keep being a free
Not
thinker.
Dick, Liz.
Yeah, Liz Cheney.
Liz Cheney.
The
Let's be
daughter.
clear.
Mrs. Cheney.
Or no, she's Ms. Cheney.
Ms. Cheney.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, yeah, moving on. The search and rescue efforts in the 12-story partially collapsed Miami Beach apartment building have transitioned to search and recover. I wrote down rescue, but I meant search and recover efforts on Wednesday, with 86 people still unaccounted for in the collapse.
I also wanted to correct something else you said. You said partially collapsed, and they have destroyed the other half
Right.
of the building. So you're right when you say that they are moving into a full recovery.
Yeah,
moving on
It's no
from-
longer rescue, but
It's no
recovery.
longer a search and rescue mission, which is really just hard to accept, because when we're all watching the news, we're waiting for them to pull someone out and all of this. And
Yeah, no, I mean, I was trying to find how many people did survive the collapse or whatever, and I couldn't find it for a really long time. And the reason for that being is only one person did. A single person that was in the part of the building that collapsed, when it collapsed, was rescued. Just one.
yikes, dude.
54 people have been confirmed to have died in the collapse. I mean, a tragedy like this, it's felt by everyone. It's felt by all Americans. And it points to, a faltering infrastructure system. It's been mostly ignored since the 1970s. This is a direct result of government negligence. All right. There shouldn't have been that many people in a building that was unsafe. Period.
Yeah, and there's
Period.
so many different variants of that exact same story. People complaining to the landlord or whatever. There's people who took videos and reported. And there's some kind of regulation where they only have to get inspected every 40 years or something. It's
Yeah, I think it's something like that. Yeah, the
I only
certain
heard
type of
that.
inspection is a 40-year inspection. So
which is bonkers.
yeah, that is bonkers.
I mean, even every 10 years is insane. I mean, you go in an elevator and elevators are inspected yearly. And I'm pretty sure that's a federal regulation.
yeah,
But just the fact that this is normal, and especially in a place like Florida, in Miami, which is, famous for its, how should I say, coke buildings. And I mean, that's just one part of it, but they're famous for being friends of deregulation,
yeah,
friends of the tax cuts, friends of, no regulations. So when this happens and there's all these warnings, there's all of these rules that are already in place in other states, it's heartbreaking, because it's we could have stopped this.
yeah. It's avoidable. It's avoidable catastrophe,
Exactly,
right? It's not like a hurricane or a tsunami where it's this is Earth's righteousness,
Yeah.
or whatever. Dangerous power of Earth.
But then also the thing about Miami is that you go 10 miles south and the Miami Beach is slowly falling underwater. So it's what exactly is the plan here? Are we going to just allow nature and time to take its course and let buildings fall because that's just the natural progression, and
Yeah.
let the water rise because that's just nature, and nature is going to do what it's going to do and we can't get in the way? Or are we going to change our entire worldview and the way we handle ourselves in this world to challenge the status quo, which is allowing things to just happen as they are, where we can take a stand against deregulation and tax cuts and the people that
Yeah.
support that?
Yeah, no, there's a place for regulation in this country. I mean, you don't want too much, but you don't want too little.
I mean, building regulations, right? We think that's the basic.
That should be the basic. Building regulations, bridge regulations. Let's
Exactly.
figure that one out at least.
And this is, something that we kind of talked about earlier. This is something that Republicans should be able to get on board with, right? Republicans don't want buildings to fall,
Yeah, who wants building? No one wants buildings to fall.
but then they turn around and vote down the infrastructure bill, and they poison it. They put the poison pills in and
Yeah.
all this other stuff that basically make it bill that's almost not worth passing. So it's like, what exactly do we do? Do we just let Republicans destroy certain states?
We end the filibuster. That's step one.
It's just tragic because you also can't blame these people. I'm sure there was Democrats in there and stuff, right? And it's not like,
well, yeah, no, I don't blame Republicans. I blame government negligence here, and that's both sides. I mean, they have both Democrats and Republicans in the Florida state legislature.
Yeah.
So like that's just it's an oversight, and it should not have happened. I mean, frankly, it's a disgrace to have something like this happen in a country that claims to be, so advanced, one of the richest countries in the world.
Yeah.
We have a building collapse, like in one of the major cities.
Yeah.
Of our country.
A major tourist city.
Yeah, it's not like it happened in, backwater Kansas. Like it happened in Miami.
Yeah.
So
I think the last thing I have to say is that this is just another moment where the American propaganda, we are the best country in the world, it just gets ripped off.
Yeah.
It's like, nope, we're just like India. We're just like all these other countries where buildings could just, fall down. Because if we continue down the path of deregulation and continue down the path of negligence and allowing developers to be free in a free market, these things can happen again because we don't, change our rules and change the way we do things. Basically.
Yepers. All right,
tragic.
That's pretty much what we got on that. Yeah, super tragic. What do they always say? Thoughts and prayers.
Bruh. I mean, I have a whole lot of. Actually, let me say this. It also annoys me when the mayor and the governor they come out and they're like, "Oh, thoughts and prayers." It's like,
oh, the mayor though. The mayor like showed up. He was there. He was there like 4 days straight. I think he was there.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy. I mean, that's something.
I just think that America has a problem of trying to solve problems after the fact instead of avoiding the problem, like we were trying to say, So that's what I'm trying to say about like our worldview. We can be a little more proactive about this kind of stuff.
We're the Avengers, not the Provengers.
Damn, he's spitting.
That's a line. That's a movie line.
Really?
Yeah. Avengers Endgame. You haven't seen it yet, but
Oh, I haven't seen it yet.
In tech news, 2 antitrust cases brought against Facebook brought up by the Federal Trade Commission, and 40 states were thrown out by a federal judge. Hooray!
Wait, who brought them? What's going on?
Did you listen to? Were you listening to the dude's story?
No.
All right, I'll read it again. In tech news, 2 antitrust cases against Facebook brought up by the Federal Trade Commission in 40 states were thrown out by a federal judge. So the clapping was sarcastic.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Because...
yeah, it should be. Okay. Yeah.
Maybe that wasn't clear. I'm glad you helped me clear that up.
It wasn't. I was like, wait, that doesn't sound good.
Judge said no justice.
No justice.
Continue.
The judge said, among other things, that the core argument brought up by the federal government, which is that Facebook has a monopoly on social media, was not nearly strong enough to hold water.
Can we? I'm sorry. This is the time that I get to peek in.
Yeah, peek in, Jack Tunney. Peek
they
in.
said what?
They said that it's not strong
The
enough.
lawyer said that?
No, the judge said that it's not.
No, I know. But the federal lawyer said
that Facebook has a monopoly on social
media. The federal
media.
government said that Facebook has a monopoly, and the judge said that was not strong enough.
Yeah, so a federal prosecutor said that.
Yeah.
To a judge.
Yeah.
That man must have been laughed out of the room. You can't
it's a
go
weak
along
case.
saying monopoly when you don't know what it means.
It's a weak case.
Well, you can't have monopoly over the internet in general.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm not
sure
exactly. I wasn't really versed in what this story is about.
No, you're good.
But why do they think that? They can say monopoly on user data, something.
I think it's, I didn't do a ton of research into this, but I'm pretty confident when I was reading the article that it's because of the buyout of Instagram. So Facebook owns Instagram and owns its own Facebook site, and therefore that's like antitrust. So it's not necessarily a monopoly, right? They don't own 90% of the.
I think they're missing the truss. Like, I think they need to go shoot some bigger truss.
They need,
This is my hunter talk. This is hunter talk with Jack Tunney.
I might disagree.
Truss.
I might find myself in disagreement from you two here.
Which part?
I think
that it is
Facebook and Instagram and their cooperation does have dangerous effects for our, conversations online.
Oh yeah, but the issue is, so you're absolutely right. And honestly, this prosecutor, while using incorrect terminology, in my opinion, is right that what Facebook is doing is dangerous. I mean, they own a huge percentage of the ad space on the internet,
and not even just in America, worldwide.
Yeah. So, and they have a lot of power and control to do things to the way that we perceive the information, right? And this obviously is a major setback, like in fighting against these massive corporations. But I mean, like, what are you going to do? It's a federal judge.
We need to keep. They have. Is it like a Trump judge?
I don't know. They didn't say.
Can I take a bit of what Brandon said earlier and bring it back?
What's up?
What we do here is
why are we trying to help? Why are we trying to fix it afterwards when we could have implemented? We can implement something in the mix that'll break it up and keep others from doing the same, right?
Well,
some form of antitrust.
The modern tech era has been the most rapidly advancing economy that history has ever seen. So these I mean, the four major companies, right? You got Amazon, Apple, Google, and Facebook.
And I would put Twitter and Square up there too. Cash App, Twitter, Square.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that's a major company as well. But I think those four are like the four. They're the big four.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm gonna use those guys. They came up. I mean, they were nothing companies
in the 90s,
35 years ago.
Yeah,
nothing. They didn't exist. Some of these companies.
Yeah.
So the rate at which, and this is something that you talk about in government class and shit. The rate at which they have advanced and become major global corporations with massive control over a lot of the information that gets disseminated, right?
It's almost like our government literally can't catch up.
It can't keep up with them.
Yeah.
And that's part of why you need cases like this, and that's why it's upsetting to see cases like this just get thrown out of hand. Although, I mean, I hate to say it, the judges, I mean, they don't have a monopoly.
Could have had a better case.
Could have had a better case.
Right. That's why it's upsetting.
Yeah.
The judge is right.
Yeah, and that's a major problem, in general. But yeah, I mean, the fight's not done. The House Judiciary Committee has advanced 6 bills aimed at overhauling antitrust legislation, which will help the fight in the courts, because if we have new laws, we can use those laws to then present arguments.
This all
because we're dealing with antitrust laws from the 1930s in some of these cases.
Talking about parlor shops all getting bought up. That's where the
we're talking about from. Like Carnegie and Rockefeller and like the car companies, right? Ford and Chrysler and GMC.
It was back when the country was happy to threaten to federalize a certain aspect.
Oh yeah, true.
Oh yeah, we were like, we'll take over car production.
Yeah, we'll take it.
Yeah,
if you don't want to do it, and that's what I miss. I miss that a lot.
This reminds me of the crypto conversation we were having about these vertical monopolies, not companies that will, like we were trying to, say, Facebook doesn't monopolize social media, but when Facebook owns ad revenue, when they own Instagram, and they have games. Facebook video, they have the games, they have all of these separate, departments that, I'll use the word exploit, they use each other's information and build off of that and use it for their own department, all of that. So it's not that they're in a way they're escaping the monopoly rule by just designing their company in a different way, where instead of owning everything in one sector, they own everything in 100 different sectors. So that's what I think Facebook is doing. That's what I think Twitter is doing with, like I mentioned earlier, with their Cash App, and they have, Square and all these other companies. They even, bought into Tidal now. So they're not buying all of social media, but they're buying a bunch of different forms of media to control their own kind of network. So it's kind of this bigger and almost scarier problem than just having a monopoly. If they're
and it's not for lack of monopolies either. You look at Google, they handle like something like 93-94% of all of the search load in the world.
Yeah.
the entire world. They control what people receive on the end of a search. 93%. Like, that's insane. That is a monopoly.
A lot of power.
So, and like, what do you say? Oh, they control all that. The people need to stop using Google. Like, how do you actually fight that?
And that's before you even get into YouTube.
Yeah.
Google also owns
Google
YouTube.
owns YouTube.
So it's not a monopoly, but it's this kind of big monster
Stacked, upon itself.
arms coming out of freaking got the YouTube arm.
I've said it for a long time. I think the true apocalypse coming for the true dystopia, not apocalypse, but the true dystopia that's coming for this world is corporatist. It's going to be 5 or 6 big ass companies, and they're going to control everything. They're going to control politics. They're going to control media. They're going to control food distribution, water distribution, clean oxygen for when we inevitably run out of clean oxygen.
Water.
Yeah, the whole shebang. Medicine.
Don't worry, everybody.
Amazon's already doing pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
I'll be your O'Hare air guy.
Oh God.
That's a good reference, dude. That's the Lorax.
I'll be the air guy.
I love that. That's
Be
a good
better
reference.
air guy.
Yeah, be the air guy, dude.
Well, kid, you want a lawyer?
The Lorax is one
Have
of the
you-
best environment movies of all time.
Yeah, go watch the Lorax. But yeah, let me just finish this. So yeah, as I said, Judiciary Committee has advanced 6 bills aimed at overhauling antitrust legislation. The goal of such legislation and of these court cases is to lessen the hold that big companies such as Facebook, Amazon, Apple, and Google have over large swaths of the U.S. economy. So yeah, that's basically what I had to say about all that. That's our first bites.
These modern companies escaping old rules. We got to change up the rules.
Absolutely.
Simple.
That's why we started this whole thing.
Yeah, that's the whole point. But yeah, thanks for watching the show in the split up format. To watch the sandwich in the milk, check the description down below. In the milk, we're going to be talking about some antitrust stuff, so check that out. I mean, we were just talking about that in that last first bite story. Please comment down below with any questions, and be sure to like and subscribe. We love you.
Thanks for checking us out.
For the PB&J podcast, I've been Peter Whitehead.
And my name is Round Down Black Man.
See you later.
Bye.